conventional mental health treatment. And it's really, really, really pejorative, and it pathologizes people and it makes people feel worse. And the one thing I always saw mental health as, and helping people with mental health as a way to make you the best version of yourself as possible. And I really, really mean that. And I feel mental health issues are related when people kind of are disconnected from that good part of themselves, or they never had it in the first place. So it's just, you know, feelings are feelings. They're not good or bad. That you're not a bad person. And I just felt like mental health in the conventional world was really making, people feel like worse and more vulnerable and more down on themselves. And it wasn't empowering and uplifting. And that was just never me. So once I saw the power of holistic health and the power of food and really listening to your body and connecting with your body tells you everything.
Yeah.
It
really does.
Your body tells you everything. And for the longest time, I forgot the head and the brain was attached to the rest of the body. And I find, like, if people want to get help, they don't know where else to go. So they go somewhere. And I was talking to a young woman, and she just got more and more medications, and then was feeling really damaged about herself as a person. And she's like the most beautiful, talented young woman who has so much going for her, but she lost connection with that. So that's kind of the framework of holistic health. It's not, sorry about my dogs.
It's okay. Hi,
They're protecting our house. Where was I? So the framework, I think, is very different in holistic health, mental health, than it is in conventional psychiatry. So, and, I'm trying to think. And starting with the power of food, it makes so much sense. But again, I was never taught anything about nutrition in medical school or residency. My veterinarian knew more about how food affects mental health than my physicians teaching me.
Wow.
And just there's so much study now about how diet affects mental health and how you can treat depression and I say just, with, eating a whole foods diet.
Mm-hmm.
There is a branch of psychiatry called nutritional psychiatry. It's really popular in Australia and the UK. Unfortunately, not as in the United States, but we're getting there slowly.
Fingers crossed.
I've helped people cure their depression just by changing what they're eating. And I love the name Well-Fed Warrior because it is so, so true. And you are what you eat.
Yeah.
And and also holistic mental health really brings in so many different disciplines. It's just not an imbalance of neurotransmitters. We're so much more complex as human beings. And history and trauma can be anything overt to more of anything like physical abuse or sexual abuse, which is awful, of course. And your body, as they say, keeps the score, but just the emotional miscommunication and trauma as a young child or even an adult, when people who should be understanding you don't.
Yeah.
And those are kinds of trauma. But you can feel it in your body when you're able to let yourself tune into it.
And that's what I kind of want to talk about today. And I love that you've worked with food because, I've had a lot of people ask, everything's so uncertain, especially for the people, that have the personality type where control is something that very sacred to them, and it that routine and all of that gives people certainty.
Yeah.
You know, what are some, whether it's a food or like adaptogens, I also know as well, what have you seen kind of like work for people, you know, as you're taking them on these new protocols?
Right. And that all depends, and that's sort of the fun part from the scientist in me,
Yeah.
to figure out what part their body needs the most help with. So the adaptogens are great. It's when your cortisol is crazy because you're so stressed out with sympathetic nervous system overdrive. It's the fight or flight. When that gets worn out, your adrenal glands, the adaptogens are so very, very, very helpful. Um, and then there is a type of overdrive where you freeze. And my latest interest is something called the polyvagal theory. And the polyvagal theory has to do with the vagus nerve and the parasympathetic nervous system. I hope I'm not getting too goofy.
No, I love
Is
it.
rest and digest, and our body in uncertain times and just our society. I think it's an interesting thing metaphorically, the shelter in and how we're going to be changing society to some degree,
Yeah.
because it's forcing people to slow down. But with the parasympathetic, the rest and digest, we're not in that phase enough. And there's something, you can do exercises where you tap into the vagus nerve and you get into the parasympathetic state, which helps your body calm down.
That's
So there's
awesome.
lots of different ways to tap into it, and that's why I like holistic health.
Yeah.
Food can set you up for that. Different exercises, spirit, emotions. And I love, people are a lot, hopefully people are different, but good fat, avocados, plant-based fats are brilliant for the brain, which is where mood comes from. And I personally can feel a difference when I take my omega-3 fatty acids, because I live in the Midwest and I don't get enough fish. Fatty fish is great. I feel a difference. It's hard to describe, but when I take my fish oil, very different than when I don't. It really helps my mood. So there's tools from different herbs. Magnesium is a mineral we all need. Magnesium threonate helps you relax. Something called inositol also helps you calm down.
Where can we find these things?
In any health food store.
Okay. Yeah, because that's what I was curious about, in the mental health realm of things. I think a lot of people are like, oh, well, do I try that herbal supplement? Does the label really say what it's going to do? And I believe you have to be your own lab rat personally,
Yeah.
like in a safe way, obviously.
Right.
But you'll know if like a ginseng, and that level of mood stabilization is different than St. John's wort or different than like ashwagandha.
Right. And part of my job, and I'm working on making it more understandable, is to figure out what area. Like if your cortisol isn't super high, the adaptogens might not help you much.
Oh.
But some people, for lack of a better description, they have a low serotonin genetically. And when you take 5-HTP, that can be so profoundly helpful. So it's trying to match the two different things. And I think one way is to kind of be your own rat. Don't go over what the label says, but listen to your body. Lithium orotate is a mineral. It's on the periodic chart, and our soil doesn't have any lithium in it. So our vegetables don't have any lithium in it. And there's studies that show low levels of lithium in the soil, people have a greater incidence of suicide. And I'm sharing that not to scare people, but the nutrition is so depleted from conventional vegetables and fruits, that we don't get what we need. And it's interesting, lithium orotate is a little bit of a mineral that we need, and it really helps. I'm not talking about a medication. I'm talking just about the mineral form can be really helpful. And that's why coming back to, the quality of the food, not just the food, but the quality. And I know you know that.
Yeah, we have that in common. And I think that's such a easy starting point for people, right? Like that education and, like what will educate you guys today, if you didn't know already know that, is that you get so much of a benefit in like choosing a plant, because there's minerals and stuff in that plant that we didn't take the time to, but I do believe universe took the time to, right? And that's like why you should eat alive foods, like plants.
Right. Exactly. I mean, the universe is so much smarter than we are as people. There's no two ways about it. And I love the depth of color. Organic food tastes different to you. It tastes different to me, and I don't have a fine palate. And I've seen people in the past, I would have treated them with medication, but I just actually take them on an elimination diet and detoxification protocol, and their depression lifts, their energy improves. It's dramatic. And these are people that would get medicated typically. And, people like, how can food be that powerful? Food is that powerful. Yeah. It really, really, really is. And the depth of color has all those different nutrients, and it's much smarter. That's why, as a physician, I can't say go experiment with yourself, but herbs, it's more gentle, theoretically, don't go overboard, than medication. So when you experiment with it, you can promote that for sure, but when you experiment with yourself, don't go over what the label is saying, but you're not going to hurt yourself. The universe has so much more wisdom than we do. A chemical made in the lab is more dangerous than something natural. It's so true. I've seen it with my scientific mind, which I thought that was the only way, and that's so not the only way. And the power of relationships, when meeting people, it's like you can really see if the main relationships in their life are not healthy.
Yeah. And health in not just this one linear making it to the gym on time and putting vegetables, but this interconnected, health, this knowing that, your energy can infect a room or be contagious in a room, right? And that like the love that's possible. And so I'm curious, Dr. Lori, do you feel that like by not having, because you mentioned like organics make such a difference, so then that means like what is it that makes them more beneficial? Like what's health diminishing about inorganic products?
Oh, well, because we're filled with different kinds of chemicals and man-made chemicals that poison our bodies, and specifically brain, but all organ systems. So if you get something in a box and it has more than 5 ingredients and you can't pronounce it, it's probably not very good for you. And that's when an elimination diet and a detox helps you get rid of things that are poisoning your body and your brain. And that's why we have so much disease these days. There's so much autoimmunity, there's so much dementia. I mean, we're poisoning ourselves with the all the chemicals that are out there in processed foods and the not organic fruits and vegetables. And I'm sure you understand there's some that are more vulnerable to herbicides and pesticides than the ones that aren't. So it's not like there are ways you can do it economically as well. Like I'm in the Midwest. I live next to Aldi. Aldi has great organic vegetables.
Oh, wow.
And who'd have thought, I don't have to go to Whole Foods and spend my whole paycheck that nobody has anymore because of the shelter in. But you got to put in good foods and you got to keep out the bad foods. And you got to get the bad things out of your system that are already there. And that's what an elimination diet and detoxification. I'm sure you've taken people on detoxes, correct?
Yeah, the most notable one is funny because in the Well-Fed Warrior Facebook group, which you guys are all welcome to join, Eric and I did a 3-day. It was an extreme one for us, and we're eating plant-based, and we knew our digestion, but we did 3 days of apples.
Oh, wow.
And it was interesting. It was really funny to feel our inflammation drop, to take on the challenge of eating one food group, and to set some context, you can detoxify, as Dr. Lori's talking about, in a lot of different ways. Taking out sugar for a week is a detoxification process. And so we had played with our diet and just what our digestion was doing for a while, and then we had known about this because it does have just such great gallbladder effects, and
Okay.
we love our IPAs, and red wine, and so we were like, our liver, our gallbladder, let's try it. And so we did, because there's pectin in apples, and so supposedly that's supposed to like goo up your gallbladder, which if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's like a little sack with all your bile in it. So the idea was we did like a bile purge.
That's so great.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It was interesting though.
The test is moving. Did you get different kinds of apples then?
We did like 3. So we did like our favorites are Honeycrisp, but we did green apples to switch it up, and then I even baked and did cinnamon and coconut oil because we were just so bored. You can only eat so many apples.
I could only imagine. That's really actually kind of fun.
Yeah,
I'm this scientist, but I forget to do fun things like that too.
Yeah, and it made it lighter than saying, oh, let's go on a water fast for 3 days. It's kind of like that step forward, and people do that too, and there's amazing results, like people skin clearing up, and
It's the kind of, I call it a medical, I don't know if that's the right word, detox, where actually it's not about deprivation at all. It's just about giving your body nutrition and not toxins.
Yeah.
And toxins is when you get too much of any one thing, and I'm so many scientists. We have so many toxins built up just like by living on planet Earth. You don't have to have a specific exposure.
Yeah.
But just eating healthy foods feeds and nourishes your body so much better than when you put things that don't have nutritious value in them. When you eat, you'll way past that, but the box of cereal, I'm like, oh my gosh. And it works on a metaphoric level as well.
Yeah.
And getting people in touch with their body. And it's good to feel that hunger sometimes because we eat so much from emotions sometimes.
Yeah.
Feel your body, and you can feel the inflammation go down, and skin gets so much better, as you said too.
Yeah. So, Dr. Lori, tell us where my kittens are now making a ruckus.
Oh, good.
Tell us where we can find you on Facebook, friend you on Facebook, or
Yeah, it's my website is my name, Lori Goldman, LaurieGoldman.com, and I have a lot of blog posts that have a lot of information there. And then Facebook, my wellness practice is called Clear Health Wellness, and then it's just my name again, MD, for Facebook.
Cool.
Awesome. I love what you're doing, and your energy, and I am drawn to that energy. I mean, you have such a light about you, and people need to tune into that and listen to the body and what they're telling them, how people make you feel.
Yeah.
It makes such a difference, and empower people to experience that and go with that.
Yeah. Well, thank you for serving, alongside of me and being a part of, this new launch that we're doing. And I hope you come back and, are teaching us more, because you're definitely
Yeah.
invited, Dr. Lori.
Thanks so much, Mia, and always the best to you because you're such a great force.
Thank you.
You are force. I love it.
Yeah, awesome. Well, everybody go check out Clear Bath MD, and Dr. Lori, thank you. We'll see you on the next soon.
Okay, take care.